Chapter 7. Out of the Bubble. Stay with me, students. Princess Celestia turned back to the single-file line of unicorns following her down the wooden steps. They whispered to one another, excitedly, pointing toward the ocean shore. As they made their way to the beach, Celestia could feel their curiosity mounting with each hoofstep. Ambrosia Breeze skipped up to the front. "Princess, where are we going? What are we doing?" Her green eyes were wide with anticipation. She craned her neck, scanning the area, and whispered, "Is it school-related?" "Oh, yes. It's a surprise lesson, Ambrosia," Princess Celestia said with a wink. By now, she was used to the constant nervous questioning from the students. They always wanted to know what value they were going to get out of each class. It was like teaching a big group of Twilight Sparkles all at once. "It's going to be quite amusing and informative, I assure you." Celestia long mane whipped in the ocean breeze. Her cheeks were a rosy pink in the golden sunlight. "Okay," Ambrosia bounced back to Flora, and the two little ponies exchanged a look, then squealed. The rest of the class followed the pair, clopping their hooves against the wooden staircase that led down to the sand. Up on the street level of the Monocold Promenade, ponies started to spill out of the hotel and cafe to gather and watch. They whispered and pointed to the foreign royal, wondering what sort of show they might catch a glimpse of. They hadn't seen the students of Montecold Magic Academy out on a field trip in a very long time. "All right, class," Princess Celestia announced, pacing around the group. Her hoof cuffs sunk down into the warm, dry sand. "Your assignment for today is to run, play, and jump. Look at the tide pools. Study the clouds above. Take in everything, and then we'll all share with one another at the end of the day. Got it?" Celestia looked at the blank faces. "Basically, just have fun in the sun." Lemon Square raised his hoof. "Princess?" "Yes, Lemon Square." Celestia trotted over to the yellow colt. "You have a question?" "Is it true?" Lemon Square pointed to the sun burning bright in the sky, squinting at it as if he had never seen it before or in a long time. "Is what true?" "The sun. You have the power to raise the sun. I did some research and..." "Yeah, of course she can. She's an alicorn, Lemon." Ambrosia cut in and rolled her eyes. "Every pony knows alicorns are the most powerful ponies. Like ever. Ever. They're super duper rare. You can only become one if you perform some amazing magical feat. There haven't been many except my Amor Candeza, Twilight Sparkle, and so... Can we become alicorns if we study harder?" shouted Sandy Shore from the back of the group. "Will you please make us alicorns?" "I don't think I want to be an alicorn," Flora said in her tiny voice. "Seems like too much, you know." Sandy Shore nodded. "I have an even better question." Rainy Hair looked at Celestia with a dreamy expression. "How exactly do your mane and tail move like that all the time? It's really, pretty." "Yeah, it is." Ambrosia tilted her head to the side so she could admire Celestia's mane from another angle. "I think Headmistress Diamond Wave's mane used to do that." "All right, students," Celestia said, hushing them. "There will be time for questions about me later. For now, just do as I say. You're out of a classroom and you're standing on the beautiful beach. Make the most of it. I think you'll find it's worthy of your time to get out of your little schoolroom bubble." She gave a little smile and disappeared. A few looked back over their shoulders at the princess just to make sure it was really okay. They were slowly but surely getting used to trusting her and letting go of their uptight demeanors. Celestia knew that Diamond Waves was going to be pleased with the result. "Bubble," repeated Ambrosia Breeze to himself as he looked out to the vast body of water. She galloped off to join a game of hide-and-seek. Up above, by the cliff railing, the crowd of ponies watching grew thinner as the students ran off into the little groups across the beach. It wasn't the magic show they were all hoping for. The colts and fillies really did just appear to be playing around, throwing sand at one another and diving into the water. A few older mares and stallions hung around, amused by the sight. "Isn't it lovely, sweetie?" said an old gray stallion to his wife. They stood under a shady white umbrella. "The students have been let out of school." "Oh yes," agreed the blue mare. She peered down through her circular glasses. "It's nice to finally see them enjoying the summer. It really livens the place up. We need it, especially since there aren't even waves on the water these days. Too quiet around here." The gray stallion nodded in agreement. "What did you say?" asked Duchess Diamond Waves. She had just returned from the northern prance and happened to pass by the shoreline on her way back to the academy. The newfound information on the time glass from her sage had given her much to think about and discuss with Celestia after the class had finished for the day. "Your Highness," the old couple bowed to her, "we were just saying how nice it is to see the students, colts and fillies, having a good time down there. Such a great idea to let them blow off some steam, Duchess." "Students from my magic academy?" She raised a brow and trotted to the edge of the cliff as she stepped forward and in between and looked down at the beach. Her breath was taken away. It was Princess Celestia. The royal was not teaching a class at all, but instead was building a sandcastle with several students, including Rainy Air and Fleora. They were all smiling in the face of crisis, thought Diamond Waves, as she watched Celestia use her magic to place a tiny monocolt flag on the top of the castle. Diamond Waves felt so betrayed. She could hardly watch the scene. Celestia was doing the exact opposite of what she had asked her to do. How were the students ever going to be ready unless they had spent every chance they had preparing for the worst? The Duchess closed her eyes, turned on her hoof, and took off in a canter towards the school. She had to go check the time glass and think about the new plan of action. Down on the beach, little Ambrosia Breeze hid behind the jagged rocks, waiting and staring out at the blue horizon line. Gulls flew above, squawking. Her magenta tail was wet and sandy from the tide pool she was crouching over. As soon as she saw the familiar yellow hooves approaching on the sand beside her, Ambrosia popped out from her spot. She shot a zap of orange magic from her horn at the colt. Suddenly, water from the shore began to rise up, spinning itself into a tornado shape. It shot towards Lemon Square at full speed. The colt screamed as the water enveloped him. Every pony galloped over in a panic. Celestia spread her wings and flew over. When she landed, Lemon Square was looking straight out at Ambrosia from a protective water bubble in awe. "You did it! You did a water bubble enchantment!" "I did," Ambrosia shouted in elation. Sandy Shore's jaw was agape. "That's an advanced protection spell." "Yes, it is. Well done, Ambrosia." Princess Celestia looked out at their faces, filled with wonder and excitement. She felt the same way. "It sure looks as if you monocolt ponies are a force to be reckoned with. Now, who else wants to try a water bubble enchantment?" Chapter 8. The Good News. Now that Diamond Waves was back from Northern Prance, Celestia couldn't wait to share her teaching breakthroughs and delight her friend with the news that her simple lesson plan had worked. Celestia knew that the Duchess was going to be so relieved. This whole experience had been so wonderful for Celestia, as well as the students. The daily activities of the last 2 weeks had filled Princess Celestia with a certain sense of happiness and purpose. If the rising of the sun brought her joy, then the light of the young ponies learning under her guidance brought her pure elation. It was the whole reason she made her own unicorn school back in Canterlot constantly a priority. As Celestia walked towards her friend's headmistress' office, her hooves even felt lighter, as if they weren't even adorned with heavily embellished gold hoof cuffs. The students here in Montecolt were bright and eager, not undisciplined and hooting like she had expected. They just needed to be shown a different way. Every pony in Montecolt was going to be all right, no matter what mysterious foes came to attack them. If there were any foes at all, that was. Celestia was growing increasingly suspicious of the magic behind the time glass. Ever since Diamond Waves had left, the sand in the glass had appeared to be falling down the tunnel. Yet the amount of sand the top basin seemed unchanged. Princess Celestia was hoping to point this oddity out to the Duchess today. Something was off. The Alicorn trotted past a succession of tall open windows. The frames were arched at the top, just like the ones back in Canterlot Castle. Celestia thought of home and wondered what might be occurring at this very moment, since it was almost time to lower the sun. Celestia imagined that Luna was probably resting up in her absence. Princess Luna was tasked with ushering the sun down, as well as welcoming the moon once it was time to do so. It took a lot of energy. Princess Twilight was probably going over the graduation day speech again, practicing the way to say Earth, each part, in front of the mirror. Princess Celestia chuckled at the idea. She couldn't wait to see them all at the graduation ceremony and summer sun celebration when she got home. Something funny, Celestia? Duchess Diamond Waves appeared in the south doorway. She frowned in concern and looked down at the stone floor. Perhaps the helplessness of my situation? Not at all, actually. It's just the opposite, Diamond, Celestia exclaimed with a smile. She trotted over and embraced her friend. I've been waiting to tell you the wonderful news. Your students are incredibly bright, so talented. A few of them even managed to perform a friendship spell, and water bubble enchantments. Those 2 spells alone can guarantee your safety from attack, I assure you. But that's impossible, Duchess Diamond Waves exclaimed, her mouth agape. We've tried, and what I mean to say is these students have proven that they have no talent next to taking up space. Diamond's eyes flashed something dark, and playing around during school hours, she thought. Surely you're teasing, Celestia was taken aback. Right, Dee? Of course. Diamond Wave shook the thought away and forced a smile. I'm so pleased you've made a breakthrough. She didn't seem pleased. Her body was stiff, her movements robotic. The stress, the situation was clearly getting to Diamond Waves. Why else would she say such a mean thing when her student had shown such progress? Why don't we go for a walk to the sea? I can tell you all about it. Celestia motioned her hoof towards the window. In the distance, peeking through the buildings, she could see the ocean, blue and serene. I find it can be rather restorative, even without the gentle sound of the waves. Oh, so you noticed that, Duchess Diamond Waves shifted uncomfortably, her eyes darting to the window. Fine, she finally answered, leading the way. Just don't try to make me build a sandcastle. Chapter 9. Making Waves. It didn't take long for the 2 ponies to find Unicorn Cove, the gorgeous little beach outside the city limits. Princess Celestia could feel herself relaxing a bit as she got further down from the city. She walked towards the shore. With each step, her hoof sank into the damp sand. It was so quiet here, almost silent. She looked out to the ocean and imagined the crashing sound of waves. The water was completely still. Diamond Waves was looking out to the water with a wistful expression. She turned to Celestia. "So tell me about the students." "Yes, Celestia brightened. There's something you can do, and I guarantee they will pass the exam. It's been working thus far." "What is it?" Diamond asked, her voice flat. "Cast some sort of concentration spell over them." "Heavens no," Celestia smirked. "Better concentration is the last thing they need. What they should have is..." She looked a few steps forward towards the water's edge, and without warning, dove straight into the sea. The alicorn jumped and splashed around, kicking up water onto the Duchess, whose expression was less than amused. Celestia laughed at her friend's sour face, splashing her again. Drops of water sparkled into the sunlight as they landed on Diamond. "Celestia!" Diamond Waves shouted through the piece of wet blue mane that were stuck to her forehead. "What do you think you're doing?" "Just having a bit of fun," Celestia sing-songed. "You should try it." Diamond Waves looked shocked for a moment, insulted by the implication that her old friend thought she shouldn't know how to have a good time. Thought that she didn't know how to have a good time, sorry. Diamond had practically invented the concept that she was a young pony. So the blue unicorn dove into the sea itself, creating a huge splash that drenched Princess Celestia in return. Soon the two ponies each started to laugh at how silly the other looked. They pulled themselves from the water and sat down in the dry sand, trying to catch their breath between giggles. It was just like old times. Diamond Waves exhaled deeply, and looked up to the orange-colored sky. The sun was setting. Celestia smiled, and as she watched in descent, thinking of the rising moon and her sister. After a few silent, pensive moments, the gentle sound of waves crashed into the shore again. It was hushed, whoosh, swish, whoosh, swish. The Duchess bolted upright, her horn glowing with a soft blue magic light. The color grew brighter as she stood up on her hooves and faced the ocean. Soon the waves were larger, big enough for a pony to surf on. Diamond Waves smiled generously and turned to Celestia. "Finally! What a gorgeous sight to behold! Your ability to create waves on the shores of Mondacult has returned," Celestia observed with a knowing smirk. Diamond didn't have to tell Celestia that her talent had gone missing. Every pony knew. "Can't believe it." Diamond Waves shed a tear of joy. She wept it away with her hoof. "I thought I'd lost my magical abilities. On top of the students not passing their exams and the impending doom of my kingdom, I was having an awful time. But now you're not. Everything is not always as it seems," assured Celestia. "The ocean is deep. Just because there is no waves on the surface does not mean that things aren't happening beneath." "And that's exactly what I was hoping to show you." Princess Celestia stood tall, mane and tail glittering as her wet locks flowing into the wind. "Your magic is still within you." "I don't understand," Diamond Waves shook her head. "What did you do? What were you doing the moment your magic returned to you?" Celestia queried, raising a brow. "What were you doing?" "Splashing in the water and laughing," Princess Celestia said. "You were having a great time, were you not?" "Well, yeah. Duchess Diamond Waves wrinkled her nose. What does that have to do with my magic? With any pony's magic? It has everything to do with it, dear friend. Celestia smiled. She began to trot along the shore, and Diamond Waves took up the next to her. The problem that you've been having is with yourself, with your talent of making waves in the ocean. Is the exact same reason your students cannot complete their spells. You're being too hard on them. They need to relax. It's the only way to achieve great and powerful magic. It's something I have proven in recent moons through my mentoring of Twilight Spark. She showed great promise as a student, but she only achieved her true magical potential when she learned to make friends and embrace communal amusement. It can't be as simple as that, Diamond Wave said with a shiver. Why not? Celestia stood up and closed her eyes. Pink magic glittered from her horn and enveloped the two ponies in a warm whirlwind of air until they were both completely dry. You're making things too hard on yourself. You're wrong, the Duchess Diamond Wave said, turning back to the ocean, her jaw clenched. The only reason I haven't been able to create waves is because the attack on Monocle is growing nearer. According to the time glass, everything is off. It's not me. As she spoke, the crashing waves of the sea grew smaller and smaller until they were back to the way they had been before. The only noise was the sound of the seabirds above, cawing at one another and flapping their wings. Diamond looked to Celestia with an irritated expression. I asked you here to help prepare my students by teaching them, not playing around with them, having fun. I saw you with them today at the beach. That was supposed to be the class time. If you don't think you can respect that, Sally, well, what? Celestia replied, using her most gentle tone. Diamond sighed. Well, then I think you should go back to Canterlot. I'll take care of my students and my citizens from here. The Duchess turned on her hoof and galloped back toward the city. Her words hanging heavy in the stillness of the silent ocean air. There she is, a voice called out from above. Your Highness. It was Glimmering Shield, one of the Celestia's royal guard attendants. He soared down to the beach from the high cliff, wings outstretched. Golden Flight followed right behind him. As the two ponies' hooves met the sand, they exchanged a worried look. My kinsponies, Princess Celestia said with a bow. Is there a problem? Glimmering Shield bowed back to her. We've received a letter from Princess Luna and Twilight Sparkle. There are also reports from the head of the Royal Guard and the mayor of Horseshoe Bay. Golden Flight passed her into the scrolls. It's the Cancerous Princess. I'm afraid there's been another attack in Canterlot. Chapter 10. A Letter from Home. Dear Princess Celestia, by now you're likely had word from the Royal Guard about the Cancerous entering Canterlot's borders, but I assure you that there is no cause for alarm. Some of the citizens panicked when they saw a 20-foot tall crab walking towards the castle. That's all. Princess Luna and I have the situation completely under control. She knows the Cancerous and is currently escorting him back to the Horseshoe Bay. I have studied these creatures extensively in many books, but I had to go to that library and rehearse or refresh my knowledge on the subject. It is generally understood that despite their intimidating appearance, Cancers are quite gentle creatures. However, they do tend to get seriously or irritated when ignored. which is exactly what happened in this case. The cancerous was upset over some ponies that built new cottages right next to his cove on the beach, and he tried to befriend them. Since cancerous don't speak pony, they thought he was attacking. Princess Luna is going to sit it all out straight, and I'm going to stay here and watch over Canterlot. Since the Unicorn Academy students had finished their exams for the moon and were just awaiting their results, I treated some of them to a reading from Star Swirl 7 Principles of Unicorn Magic, 3rd edition, including some of the hoof prints. I think they're really enjoying it. I also assigned them a solid summer reading list. You'll still do those, right? I mean, you still do those, right? That was always my favorite part of school. Hope everything is going well out there in Monocle. Sincerely, still your faithful student, Princess Twilight Sparkle. Princess Celestia used her magic to close the scroll, placing it on her desk next to the reports from the Royal Canterlot Guard and the Mayor of Horseshoe Bay. Each of the messages had been different in tone, and the Mayor reports were panicky, and the Royal Guard's reports were rife with subtle requests from Celestia to return to Canterlot. But the one from her fellow princess was calm. She had read Twilight Sparkle's letter 3 times and still couldn't find anything in it to show that Equestria was truly in danger. If Luna was going to solve the cancerous issue, then Equestria was in good hooves. Her younger sister had always had a special talent for talking with animals. Back when the two of them had first become princesses, Luna had even befriended a manticore named Melvin, and as well as helped to solve the Griffin disagreement. Celestia theorized that it was Luna's ability to speak to ponies through dreams that had helped her to learn how to communicate with unconventional methods. She just saw things in a new way, a different light. Princess Celestia gazed out the window of her lush guest quarters at the Monocle Magic Academy. The moon hung high in the sky, bright as ever. Everything is fine, right, Luna? She wondered. Or shall I go back to Equestria? A soft knock came at the door, interrupting Celestia's troubled thoughts. When she opened it, no pony was there, but on the floor there was a shiny red apple. Celestia used her magic to pick it up and saw that there was a tiny note attached. Messy hoof writing, it said. Dear Princess Celestia, look, I did the apple spell you showed me on your first day. You're the best teacher ever. Love, Rainy Air. Princess Celestia caught her reflection staring back at her on the surface of the apple. She hadn't even realized she was smiling so wide. That settled it. There were still lessons being learned here in Monocle, and she was going to be the one to teach them. Canterlot could wait till just a little bit longer. Chapter 11. Nighttime Glass. The sounds of laughter and magic echoed through the dormitories and down the hallway of the Monocle Magic Academy. Celestia wandered through the building, searching for Diamond Waves, but she was nowhere to be found. She had looked for her friend all day, hoping to apologize for their little argument the previous night. But Celestia knew that her friend was quite stubborn and probably avoiding her. She hated to lose, to be proven wrong. It was just a little certain instance long ago when Celestia was visiting Monocle for a summit with the Maritonians. The Duchess had invited every pony down to the beach to play a traditional game. The goal was for each player to build a castle out of sand without using the aid of their magic, and the pony with the tallest castle won. Diamond Waves had boasted about her skills all evening, and sure enough, she impressed every pony with a beautiful sand tower, complete with delicate turrets and a moat around the bottom. However, when the Duke of Mertonia sneezed, the thing came crashing down into a heap of glittering sand. Every pony laughed, and after that, Diamond refused to ever play the game again. The more Celestia thought about their current situation, the more she was surprised that Diamond Waves had ever even asked her to come to help her in the first place. But it didn't matter. Princess Celestia wasn't leaving Montecolt until she finished what she had started. It was the only way to save the land and her friendship. Later that night, Celestia dreamt of falling through a giant hourglass of golden sand. She landed softly at the bottom, but realized she was caught behind the glass, watching as Diamond Waves wandered around outside of it, calling out her name. When Princess Celestia tried to use her magic, the glass spun around. Suddenly, it stopped, and then Princess Luna was inside the glass too. Next to her stood a gigantic red crab with huge claws. He waved at her. "Greeting, sister," Luna said with a chuckle. "This is Cancerous. Sorry to come to you in a dream like this. I know how you hate it when I do that. I just thought it was easier than writing a letter." "It's a welcome visit," Princess Celestia replied as she embraced her sister. "Is everything all right?" "I'm the one who should be asking you the questions." Luna raised her eyebrow and looking around at her hourglass-shaped cage. "Are you okay, sister?" "Yes, of course I am," Princess Celestia frowned. I'm clearly only dreaming of the time glass because it's what plagues Duchess Diamond Waves. She believes that as soon as the sand runs out, a giant great attack will take place on her ponies in Monaco. This wouldn't be the same time glass the King Nautilus had, would it? Luna asked. She placed her hoof on the glass wall, looking into the engravings on the outside. The one that was a gift from a Griffin King, Grovor. It very well could be, Princess Celestia replied outside. She could still see the dream version of Diamond Waves in distress. "What do you know about this artifact?" Luna smiled knowingly. "The sands of time will never run their course on it. It flows forever." "What's the purpose of that, little sister?" "It was a training tool designed to keep their Griffin Royal Guards ready to protect the kingdom at any time," Luna continued. "It's clever. The Griffins realized that a guard at the ready was kept on his claws more than one who believed his kingdom was safe, thus the illusion of an imminent attack." Celestia nodded, adding up the parts. Diamond Waves must have misinterpreted the meaning of her father's gift of the time glass and read it as her duty and destiny. "Does that mean your work here in Monaco is finished?" Luna asked. Her face was hopeful, yet tired. "Now that you know the ponies will be safe?" No, Princess Celestia looked back and forth from Cancerous to Luna. "There's only one way to show Diamond Waves that every pony here is truly safe, and that is to stage a fake attack." Celestia trotted over the giant crab. "Once the Duchess sees that her students can handle a dangerous situation on their own, it will prove to her that they are ready for her to let them go." "It sounds like it could work," Luna agreed with a nod. Her blue mane sparkled beautifully against the swirling sand. "What do you have in mind?" Celestia gestured to Cancerous. "I don't suppose you know any gigantic creature that owe you a favor, do you?" The two sisters shared a smile, and then Princess Celestia woke up. Chapter 12. Failed Exams. The next morning, Princess Celestia entered the classroom to begin her lessons for the day, but there was no pony there. Her mind felt hazy, and she wondered for a moment if she was still dreaming. She touched her hoof on her face and felt the coolness of her hoof cuff against her cheek. It was definitely morning, and it was all happening for real. Perhaps the students were running late. She looked at a seat at the desk in front of the room to wait for them to gather her thoughts. Princess Luna had visited her last night. Princess Celestia didn't usually like when Luna appeared in her dreams. It felt invasive for someone so close to her to be able to explore her subconscious mind. But the dream she had this time was productive. She had always suspected that there was something off about the time glass, and now she understood why. Soon Duchess Diamond Waves would be well. "Try it again," Princess Celestia heard a faint voice say. She stood up and followed the sound, which grew louder as she approached the main hall. "Every pony, let's focus a little more, okay?" It was the voice of Duchess Diamond Waves. Her blue mane and yellow hide shone bright across the dark hall. She was pacing back and forth in front of the students, who were all lined up in perfect rows against the wall facing her. In the middle of the room was a large tub of water. Ambrosia Breeze stood next to it, looking down at the ground. She seemed dejected. "Come on, Ambrosia Breeze," Diamond Waves encouraged. Every pony say they saw you do it. I just really want to see you do it, too." The Duchess held up a clipboard and a quill, staring down at the young filly. "As soon as you show me the water bubble enchantment, you'll be done." Ambrosia shifted back and forth from hoof to hoof. She looked to her classmates and bit her magenta-colored lip. I can't." "Look, students, I didn't want to scare you. I know that I'm leaving soon," Princess Celestia interrupted, trotting into the room. "I shall have to say goodbye." "You will?" Rainy Air whimpered. "Princess Celestia, please don't go," cried Sandy Shore. "But what about the party on the beach? We're planning," Flora squeaked, flipping her teal mane away from her sad, sweet lavender face. "I already made hats." The tension was palpable, but Princess Celestia looked up to her friend's face. "What do you say, Dean?" Diamond Waves looked like she couldn't hold on to her stress any longer. She threw her hooves up and surrendered. "Fine, students. Go and have your party on the beach with Princess Celestia." Diamond Waves used her magic to clean up the basin of water. "We weren't making progress anyway. It's no use." "Wow, thank you, Headmistress." The students lit up. "So cool." They cantered back to their rooms to get their beach items. All except for Flora was only retrieving her elaborate hoof-made party hats. "Sure," Diamond Waves replied, cracking a fake smile. Have fun." She took a look around the empty room. It looked even bigger, with all the furniture pushed to the sides like it had been for the test. The Duchess sighed. Her face showed a sign of defeat. She had lost hope. "Are you coming?" Princess Celestia asked. She used her magic to set all the tables and chairs straight with one jolt. "Down to the beach?" No, Diamond Waves shook her head, overcoming with emotion. "I have to go to my quarters and reread the prophecy. Maybe there's a clue I've missed. I'm missing that could predict what exactly the attack is going to happen, or when the attack is going to happen. Then I'll know how to prepare." Celestia trotted over to her friend and hugged her. "Relax and come with me. This will be over soon." "How do you know that?" Diamond Waves asked. "Have you seen the time glass today?" Celestia raised her brows in mock terror. "The sands have never run out, Diamond. It is time to meet your destiny. Hurry, it's waiting." Chapter 13. Attack on Montecolt. The two tall ponies tore through the streets of Montecolt, past the dockyards, and towards the wooden step to the beachfront. Celestia led the way, clearing the busy tourist hoof traffic. When they reached the cliffside, Princess Celestia finally took off, spreading her vast white wings. She soared through the air alongside the seagulls and landed on the soft sand right in the middle of the party. The Duchess arrived a moment later, slightly frazzled and out of breath. She looked around the beach in excitement. The students were particularly the only ponies in sight. What took you ponies so long? Ambrosia breathed. It was wearing a crown that looked just like Celestia's giggle. It was gold with 3 points and a large purple jewel in the center. We've been waiting to start the castle game. The castle game? Duchess Diamond Waves asked. We build sand castles, Rainy Air explained. He was wearing a black top hat. No magic allowed, just hoof power. The pony with the highest tower wins. I know this game, Diamond shook her head as she met eyes with Celestia. Princess Celestia and I used to play it when we were younger. You did? Marveled Lemon Square as he straightened his star-swirl, the bearded and styled wizard hat. Who won? That's not important, Princess Celestia insisted. Her mane and tail flowed into the nearby and progress sandcastle. What's important is that we had fun. Celestia always wins, Diamond Waves interrupted, turning toward the students and the back of the cliff, her body framed by the blue ocean. Her voice suddenly grew serious. In fact, Celestia has always known better about everything. And why shouldn't she? She's 1,000 moons old. The Duchess began to smile as the realization hit her. Zelly, what if you were right about me not having to worry? There might be no attack at all. Attack? Sandy Shore asked, scratching his short white mane. Like the Moa Bridge? Like that gigantic crab emerging from the ocean right now? Flora squeaked. She pointed her hoof to the water. Every pony stared at her blankly. Snap, snap. The sound of 2 giant claws sounded out across the beach. The ponies spun around and were met with the sight of a massive red crab that was more than 20 feet tall. The cancerous Duchess Diamond Waves shrieked in a mixture of horror and delight at being right all along. She looked to Princess Celestia for guidance, but the royal had disappeared, so Diamond Waves did what any good teacher would do. She stood tall in front of her students, shielding them from the terrifying beast that was advancing towards them at an alarming rate of speed. Then she focused her magic and closed her eyes. Suddenly, the waves began to crash. With each slap upon the shore, the crab showed down, getting swept up in the surf. But it wasn't enough to stop him. Ambrosia Breeze looked to her friends, her fellow students. She met eyes with Sandy Shore and Rainy Air. Flora followed close behind Lemon Square. The others were not far behind. The young ponies formed a symmetrical semicircle around the cancerous, remaining calm. Then something incredible happened. Diamond Waves opened her eyes just in time to see her students perform the most perfect group water bubble enchantment she had ever seen in her life. They shot their horns at the water, creating several small tornadoes. As their magic joined, the tornadoes grew and grew until it was all one large cylinder of sea. The water surged forward, surrounding the vicious-looking crab and encasing him in a spherical water cage. He was unharmed but contained. Duchess Diamond Waves was shocked at how quickly the attack had been controlled. There had been a real monstrous threat to the city, just as she had always feared. But now Montecourt was safe, and it was all thanks to her fearless young students. Princess Celestia had taught them everything they needed to know about. After all, suddenly, Diamond was searching to remember why she had ever doubted her in the first place. Chapter 14. Wave Goodbye. As Princess Celestia stepped into her carriage, she felt a sense of pride. The faces of the young Magic Academy graduates stared back at her in admiration and sadness as her departure from their fair city. The ponies waved at her, shouting well wishes for her journey back to Canterlot and hopes for her to return to visit soon. Princess Celestia had accomplished what she had sought out to do in Montecolt by helping her friends see some new ways of looking at learning, and had learned a few lessons of her own. As Duchess Diamond Waves trotted up to the carriage, her mane and tail were moving and glittering even though there was no breeze in the air. The golden band across her forehead glistened in the sunlight as she smiled and hugged Celestia. She looked like her old self again. "Thank you for everything, Princess." She leaned forward and whispered into Celestia's ear, "especially that letter where you explained everything. It makes the victory a little less sweet, but it makes a whole lot more sense." Princess Celestia laughed. "I hope you're not too upset with me for setting everything up with Luna." "Not at all," Diamond Waves admitted. "It was perfect. Actually, I was thinking we could make this a yearly thing. Maybe use it as the test on the new class of ponies." "Sounds like a lot of fun," Princess Celestia said, raising her eyebrow. "Doesn't it, Diamond Waves?" "I don't know about that." The Duchess made a serious face and put her hoof up to her chin. Finally, she laughed. "Only joking. It sounds like a total blast." Princess Celestia could hear the laughter of the young graduates as she shook off into the pink and orange sky, towards the prettiest sunset she had ever seen. The end.